Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 2 of season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. called Heavy is the Head. And overall, I like this episode quite a lot. It's really felt like a strong episode. And one thing I've noticed people saying about it online is that it kind of felt like part 2 to episode 1. Like if they'd shown these two episodes together as sort of a 2-hour premiere, that it would have been just really, really awesome. And I do have to agree with that. It does kind of feel like an unofficial two-parter. But anyway, let's just kind of get right into things and start talking about the characters and what's going on with them. So, suppose we'll start. Yeah, let's start with Lance Hunter. I finally was able to keep him straight. Apparently, Blood is the last name of the actor that plays him. But anyway, so Lance Hunter. Now here they spent a little bit more time developing his character, and now I'm a lot more interested in what's going on with Lance. His sort of explained by Talbot, that he was apparently a well-respected member of the British military who went off and became a mercenary for, as he says, because of a woman. Now, I don't think that woman was Isabel Hartley. I'm wondering if that woman wasn't Raina, because this would totally fit in with Raina's MO. I mean, remember how she manipulated Scorch, that Chinese guy, back in episode 1. And it's probably not a coincidence that she pops up when in the same episode where Lance mentions this. Now, during that little conversation, Talbot also mentioned a senator with very deep pockets. And since this review is going up a little bit late because of reasons, word of just who this senator is has gotten out, and he's going to be making an appearance in episode 6. So we'll save a conversation about that for when it happens, but from the information they've released, yeah, I think it's going to be some very exciting and interesting stuff. But anyway, getting back to Lance. Again, this whole thing with him and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, where he even says, like to Coulson, I thought about betraying you, but it does kind of show that he's in kind of a way going to be the Sky maybe this season, somebody who's coming in from an outside who, unlike Sky, was not necessarily opposed to S.H.I.E.L.D. He's a mercenary. He is indifferent to S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's willing to work with them because he respects Isabel, and she's a S.H.I.E.L.D. sympathizer, or was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who became mercenary when things went to hell. Whatever. So I do think that might be what we're looking at in terms of his journey this season. But as I said, I am glad that they did take the time to flesh him out. I wasn't really too impressed with Lance in the first episode, but now they've really started to give him some depth, and I am happy about that. Now, since I did mention her, let's kind of go and talk about Raina. As I said, she's back. She's apparently still working with the Doctor. No, I don't mean Peter Capaldi. Unfortunately, it would be absolutely awesome if Peter Capaldi were to appear, but I think he's got a lot on his plate right now. So anyway, getting back on track. His character, though, is officially, at least until he's given a proper name, referred to as the Doctor. Apparently, that's what they're calling him in the scripts that the actors use. And Raina is apparently still kind of on her quest to find out what she will become. And this looks like the obelisk is going to be part of that. Sorry, my cat wants attention. No, go away, kitty. So that's going to be the next thing in her trying to fulfill that journey, and I guess the Doctor is supposed to be helping her out with that. Now, what's interesting is that she's able to touch it and does not suffer any ill effects, and when she kind of questions him about that, the Doctor says, "It spared you," which indicates that the obelisk has some sort of intelligence. Now, I was really kind of wondering if this thing might not in some way be some sort of Terrigen crystal. Now, it doesn't look like a crystal. It looks like it's made out of metal or something. But the idea of it having some sort of intelligence kind of goes against that idea. Now, again, we can see the markings on it more clearly, and remember, these are the ones that we saw on the blue alien, who has since basically been confirmed as being a Kree back in the Tahiti episode. So, this being some kind of a Kree device is seeming more and more likely. Again, the thing that keeps jumping to my mind is the psychomagnetron, which is basically what was responsible for giving Miss Marvel her power. The original Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers. And those powers were derived from the alien Captain Marvel, Marvel's Kree physiology. So that's kind of where my mind's going on that one. But again, that's really just me spitballing on that one. At this point, we really just don't know enough to have any real clue as to what that thing could be. But, if you're talking Kree tech, the Psychomagnetron is one of the things that does tend to jump to the top of the list. I mean, there's also, like, for example, the God Whisperer, which is basically a Kree gadget which is designed to control beings like the Asgardians and stuff like that. But that's a really new addition to continuity, while the Psychomagnetron's been around since the 70s, so we'll see. Let's see, who else? Oh yeah, let's kind of talk some more about some of the newer additions to the cast. Wait. Actually, popping back to Isabel Hartley for a moment. Lucy Lawless has said that her contract is designed to allow for all possibilities, which means that maybe they'll bring her back later on, maybe they won't. But I have a feeling that, come on, it's Lucy Lawless, so how could you not want more of her running around the Marvel Cinematic Universe? So I have a feeling that she's probably going to come back somewhere towards the end of the season in some capacity, and they're just really trying to keep it as hush-hush as possible to save the surprise. But we'll see. They might not have even filmed the episode where that happens yet, if it does happen. Also, did you notice that Hunter used the gadget that May gave him was the same one that Nick Fury used to get out of the overturned car in Winter Soldier, which, as we learned last season, was invented by Fitz. So nice little bit there. But going back to the new people in the cast, there's the fellow Mac. He's the guy who kind of makes a connection with Simmons. Now, they haven't really told us too much about Mac's backstory. I did read an interview with some of the producers and stuff where they kind of said, like, yeah, we kind of figure like Mac was somebody who was sort of like maybe a mechanic of something like that at the Triskelion. But I kind of have a feeling he wasn't just like going around doing lube jobs on the S.H.I.E.L.D motor pool. He was probably like doing really cool stuff with those helicarrier things, which would explain his level of being able to understand at least some of the technical stuff that Fitz is spitting out. I mean, my stepbrother is a mechanic. If you were to start talking to him about like the technology used on stealth aircraft, he'd be like, sorry, man, I got no idea what the hell you're talking about. And he's a very, very good mechanic, too. He's worked on my cars. But yeah, so I have a feeling that he wasn't. Now, again, that whole thing, he was a mechanic, isn't exactly set in stone. They're just saying he was probably some sort of low-level, some technical guy, but not somebody who was really high up on the pecking order. He wasn't like the Geordie LaForge of S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything like that. But I do like that he's sort of making this connection with Simmons and kind of helping bring Simmons back down to. Fitz. Bringing Fitz back to reality, at least to a small degree. And it's just interesting to see this very blue-collar, obviously intelligent, but probably not super well-educated guy making a connection with a big brainiac like Fitz. And I kind of wonder if this might end up developing in sort of a replacement for that kind of two dudes who are buds kind of thing that Ward and Fitz had when Ward was still pretending to be a good guy. Of course, we're going to start to see a lot more about what's going on. I'm sure. Well, I mean, there's a lot more to be done with what's going on with Fitz, and seeing as how the next episode is going to focus on Simmons, yeah. And let's just kind of keep rolling along with talking about the S.H.I.E.L.D. cast. Not a huge amount to say about what's going on with Skye, but I do like that they're really kind of continuing on with the idea that she's basically turning into May 2.0. She's repeatedly said, like, yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D is my life right now, and they're continuing that dynamic between her and Coulson, where the kind of the surrogate father-daughter relationship. And I love how she even takes the time to say, like, you really need to de-stress or something. And I love how Coulson is like, try some yoga, and he goes, I've tried, but I'm not that flexible. That, and we just retiled the bathroom. I mean, that's some really wonderful work there. You can kind of wonder if like this isn't one of those moments where you've heard about, like I heard about during reading interviews with the people who wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where I think it was like Jane Espenson or Marty Noxon would say that people come up to me at conventions and stuff and like, oh, I really love this one line in this episode she wrote, and they kind of have to admit, like, yeah, that wasn't really me. That was just kind of something that Joss Whedon added in there when he kind of took a look at the script and scribbled in a few little changes. I really can't help but wonder if maybe that wasn't what happened here, because those seem like just so Joss Whedon moments. Whew, it's a bit hot in here. I'm probably going to have to take this sweat hoodie off. Hang on a sec. Okay, let me see. Ward doesn't appear in this episode, and this is the first time one of the main characters has not appeared in an episode, so nothing to really say about him. Going back to Coulson, and of course by extension May, we do see that there's continues to be kind of conflict between Coulson and May, with May not always doing what not always being exactly the good soldier. Like Coulson really has to put his boot down to get her to obey orders, and May has to put her boot down in order to get Coulson to just like stop fighting the weird alien stuff that's going on with you. Now, somebody did point out in this episode that they sort of noticed what looked like when Coulson was scribbling all that stuff on the wall, that you could see what looked like a bucket of plaster off to the side. So I guess what it is that Coulson does that crazy stuff, May photographs it, and then plasters the wall back over. Which makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. I didn't quite realize that Coulson was apparently doing that in his office. I thought he was scribbling that off in like some hallway corridor, in the depths of the playground somewhere, where just like any random guy who was wandering by to be like, "Hey, what's that?" Also, I'm really kind of curious as to who the other random people are that are just sort of there in the S.H.I.E.L.D. basically. Like we saw like at least 3 random scientists that Fitz is trying to get some kind of an idea across to with Mac's help, and it's just not quite working. I really would be very curious to know what exactly the backstory is on those people. I mean, granted, they're probably just extras who are never going to have any real impact, but this would be some really great stuff for maybe some kind of a web comic, in between seasons. So it's showing Agent Coulson going out there and finding S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who or just low-level S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel, like the scientists and the technicians, the mechanics, who didn't get thrown in jail or go running to Tony Stark or just go into hiding or get killed, just flat out get killed, and who still kind of want to continue helping S.H.I.E.L.D. but in that support capacity. Something like S.H.I.E.L.D. is requires a massive amounts of people doing the plate spinning behind the scenes. Like look at May. When we first see her, she's basically a paper pusher. I mean, I think it would actually be quite interesting to see somebody who was just like an office manager at S.H.I.E.L.D. who's like been like, oh my god, I just wanted to try and do good, but I didn't expect to be like out there being hunted down by the military. Come on, Coulson, give me a hand here. But again, that's just me. And let me see. Yeah, we don't really see much of Triplet this episode, do we? So I don't really have anything to say about him. And oh, geez, I almost forgot. We got to talk about Absorbing Man. Now, what I do like is that they're kind of giving Creel a lot more depth than I would have expected from them, and they're also hinting that Hydra may have been brainwashing him. We see the handler guy use that weird code phrase, which immediately makes him compliant. And then in the preview for next episode, we see sort of clockwork orangish sort of device, indicating that maybe some of these people that are working for Hydra are not necessarily doing so of their own volition. Or that maybe even Hydra actually did have some people who it brainwashed, just in case maybe everything went to hell. They'd still have people within high-ranking positions in the government who could be later activated at a time it would be convenient to Hydra's goals. Or it could even turn out that some of the people who are working for Coulson now were secretly brainwashed by Hydra off-screen, and then Coulson picked them up. I mean, that would be classic Hydra tactics. But again, I do like that they kind of gave Creel some depth. He's like, again, the idea of him sort of being sort of a sensualist when it comes to his powers, him being genuinely freaked out and scared by what's going on, his interactions with Reyna where he's like, lady, you don't know what you're messing with. You need to get out of here, and I'm going to do you a big favor and not mention to anybody that I saw you. Which shows that, Creel is not completely a heartless person. In fact, if I remember correctly in the comics, he has made efforts at times to kind of go straight. I can't remember if he's currently on the straight and narrow or if he's a bad guy, but I'm pretty sure he has made attempts to go legit before. But let's see. So, and I do like how they sort of leave the door open for him to come back at a later time. Now, the idea of maybe he was brainwashed, and them snapping it out of him so that they could have somebody with powers who would be willing to fight against Hydra on their side, that would be pretty cool, and maybe even start kind of sort of recruiting people who do have powers that work for S.H.I.E.L.D. if he would be amenable to that. And it has been proven, if you read the comics, that S.H.I.E.L.D. does have people like psychics and even necromancers who do work for S.H.I.E.L.D. I was actually reading, what was it? Yeah, it was an issue of Deadpool where S.H.I.E.L.D. necromancers, including some crazy Scottish guy in a kilt, were helping fight some bad guys who'd come back from the dead. And Maria Hill even went on TV and said, well, there's always room for improvement. S.H.I.E.L.D. feels that our current mystical defense personnel are adequate for any magical threats that might be out there. And I just love the idea of government officials going on TV and going like, yeah, magic's real, and we've got people, magic users, who work for us to fight that. I mean, it's just part of the fun of comics, really. But of course, they haven't formally introduced magic into the cinematic Marvel universe. They've just mentioned that Stephen Strange exists. So yeah, but man, I can't wait for them to actually get to that, because that's going to be really cool once they start bringing in the magical characters. But yeah, I think that covers everything that I have to say about this episode. So far, guys, season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is off to a really great start. Oh, almost forgot, we got to see a picture of Peggy Carter when Coulson was doing research on the obelisk, and they even sort of said, taking over the world, that's so 1945. So they're really, really pushing this Peggy Carter thing. But, it's sort of hard to blame them. Marvel has said that, yeah, we do want to do movies with a female lead. Black Widow is probably going to be the most likely one to have that first. But really, the first big thing they're going to have with a female lead is going to be Agent Carter. It's not going to be a movie, obviously. It's going to be TV. But I'm thinking that if Agent Carter does well, then that would be a big boost for getting a Black Widow, and maybe, if we're super lucky, a Miss Marvel movie somewhere down the line. But that's all I have for you at this time, guys. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.